Welcome to New Business in Later Life with me, Ildiko Seeley. I'm an Encorepreneur, the routine queen, and the champion of thriving over 50. I'm obsessed with morning routines, energized living, and building businesses that work with your life, not against it. Each week, I share real-life stories from bold later life entrepreneurs who have said no thanks to retirement and hell yes to reinvention, while discussing good health routines for great business. Whether you are launching your first venture or scaling your Encore, you are in the right place. Let's get you fired up, focused, and firmly in the driver's seat of your next chapter. Let's dive in. Today's guest has been in business for over 5 decades, even though she doesn't even look 50. Debbie kicked things off at age 10, running an egg delivery empire with a sibling workforce, who she probably paid in loose change and charm. After a long and successful career in education leadership, she ditched the corporate treadmill at 54, became an independent coach, and never looked back. Fast forward to turning 60, Debbie launched a business success company. It is a powerhouse of courses, coaching, and strategic wizardry. She is now a nana, a natural networker, and possibly the most organized person you will meet. Please welcome the unstoppable, extraordinary Debbie Nolan. Good afternoon, Debbie. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So let's jump straight in. Please tell us, what is your most recent business?
So my most recent business is the Business Success Company.
Okay.
And I started that. This business I've just been in for a year.
Okay.
So I started it just before my 60th birthday.
60?
60th birthday, yeah.
I thought you were younger than me, and I'm only 51.
Thank you very much for the compliment. Thank you.
So that threw me a little bit. Do carry on while I collect myself.
So I left the corporate world. I was a senior manager in education back in 2019. And from there, I started to do mentoring and coaching. And I enjoyed that. I enjoy that aspect of what I do. But my diary got very busy.
Okay.
And so what I started to do was develop courses, resources, and training that I can then take to a wider audience.
Yes.
So instead of training one-to-one, I can train several people in either online or either in corporate businesses or on a one-to-one. So I've got more opportunities and more choices.
That makes a lot of sense.
So for the last 5 years, as much as this has just started, it's actually been in development since 2019.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Would you like to go a little deeper into what you teach and who you teach to?
I have got some people which are just budding entrepreneurs that are just, had an idea and they want to take that idea forward into something that's real, something that's tangible that they can actually do for themselves.
Okay, so you coach people from the very beginning, from the idea stage to the
yes,
getting go.
And that's where I get excited, because when someone sparks an idea, generally it's one of those conversations, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that. And as I find that as people get older, they limit themselves, and I think that's something they shouldn't do. I think that there's more opportunity as people get older.
Kind of, this is what I'm trying to portray in this podcast, interviewing people who started a new business later in life, because it literally is never too late.
Absolutely. The skills that you have when you become an older, let's not call ourselves old, but as you go through life, you've got more life experiences, and you've had situations that you've had to deal with, whether it be your health, your life, your work, your home balance. There's lots of things that you've had to be resilient through.
Yes.
And in business, you need a little bit of resilience.
Sometimes
a lot of resilience. Yeah. So I'm being kind with little, but sometimes you have to really be forceful with yourself and be, push through some of those hard things.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I've never worked so hard in my life. But
But you must enjoy that though.
I do. I absolutely love it. I mean, what we are doing here right now, talking to people, having these conversations is just fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so energizing.
These are the things that spark our inquisitive nature. As business owners, we're very inquisitive. We're always looking for things to do and things that we could develop ourselves. Yes. And I think that's important when you're working with new entrepreneurs, because they can't see what we can. They can't at that point see the opportunities and the lifestyle that they can have working for themselves.
We all get bogged down with it, is that we kind of imagine where we want to be, but because we don't know how to get there,
Absolutely.
people get scared of the unknown
Yeah.
and rather don't do it.
Yeah.
And obviously now that I'm pushing through as well, and I'm in just a little bit, like a touch further, although I'm launching a business right now as well. It's that mindset that you have to work on all the time, that it doesn't matter what the how is.
Yeah.
Just set the target and start going, and every single step of the way you learn what to do next.
Yeah.
I expect this is exactly what you teach people.
It is. It's having a strategic plan.
Yes.
And it's having a look at all the things that you need within that plan, because the idea is the first part of it, and it's how the other mechanisms around what you need to do to have all of the aspects of running a successful business. Because the percentages are that, 1 in 5 businesses will succeed and 4 unfortunately will not, and it's generally because they don't understand all the aspects of how to run a business.
Yes.
So I teach that to up and coming entrepreneurs using a lot of my own experiences. I mean, I've been in business now 35 years, so I've had different businesses, I've had lots of opportunities, but I've also gone back to a permanent position within education. So I have had both sides, so I can see when it's corporate and when it's the spark that is a business.
That literally, in a way, doubles up your experiences.
Yeah. Taking people from their idea and giving them that confidence, having just initially conversations with them about, what is it, the end result you would like, and then letting them see it. What I do find is there's a lot of mindset blocks.
Yes.
There's a lot of mindset, I can't do it, but you can. But why can't you? So it's a lot of questioning. It's a lot of building confidence with people and allowing them to see that they have got the potential, and taking away that it's all right for you. Because I get a lot of that. It's all right for you. You can do this. It's not been easy.
You weren't born with it. You learned it at some point. Yeah.
It's
Whether
not
you
easy.
learned it at a younger age, I think that's kind of, in a way, a bit of an advantage, that you had different kind of energy or a bit more carelessness, perhaps, like, it'll be fine. When you're a little bit older, I mean, I was a bit like, I'm getting a little older, but then, no, I want to do something amazing in my life. So here I am sitting here in a podcast studio.
I've always had a saying, which is always do what you want to do. Never look back and say, I wished I'd have done.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people who have had that. Try it. It may not work, but without knowing whether you would ever be able to succeed, without having the tools or the support behind you, then you may find that it will be a lot harder. One of the things that I try and, get across to people is asking for help. Ask for the help. In some of my businesses, I didn't ask for the help. I was too young. I was too naive.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't need to ask, because...
Do you think this could be one of the major causes of 4 out of 5 businesses not succeeding?
Yeah, definitely.
Because people don't ask for help and they just literally drown themselves in the problems.
Yeah, I mean, particularly with the online world, there's so much now that people need to know. It's not about opening a business and expecting clients to come to you. You need to market yourself, and understanding how, social media will work for you, and understanding that aspect, because you've got more people being able to see what you do, but it's how you engage with that audience.
Yes.
And, for example, training, delivering sessions to large corporates or one-to-one, I love, actually.
So how does that fit in? Because you obviously mentioned that you mentor people who want to be business owners, sole traders, entrepreneurs. Yeah. How does that fit into the corporate world then?
So no, that's 2 different sides of it. So I can work with corporates. So I also go into deliver training into different industries.
What sort of training do you deliver?
So my most recent was I went into a large building company and had to talk to 30 men on mindset. And none of them really wanted to be there. I could tell the audience, the negativity. And my opening line was, I'm not corporate and I'm not boring, and we're all going to get through this together. And I just broke the ice with that. I'm not there to, dictate from a PowerPoint set of slides, but it was around Mental Health Awareness Week, which we have in the UK.
Yes.
So it was a couple of weeks ago. And by the end of it, you had, these people that are working on building sites that don't actually really get the understanding of, talking to each other in a way.
Yeah.
And it's just that getting them to ask, are you okay? Okay is not good enough. No, I'm good, and just developing a little bit more sense.
See the truth behind the polite response.
That's right, yeah. So that was some corporate training, and that was going into a company. I've been working with some schools where I've been working, and in education, there's something called the Gatsby framework, and that's to do with work experience for young learners. Okay. Become very difficult for them to get employment or in work experience in companies because of health and safety and lots of the bureaucracy and red tape, really.
When you say young learners, how young or what sort of age group?
The ones I'm working with at the moment are 14. So this week they're sitting their GCSEs. So quite a nervous week for them.
14? I thought that was 16.
14. No, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, 16. They're 15. Actually. They're 15. I'm thinking I did deal with some 14-year-olds as well.
When you're the 15-year-olds, sit mock
the 15s
exams probably, don't they?
Yeah. So it's about now. So with that, I was going into some schools and I was interviewing them. I was giving them entrepreneur training, and they had to go away and do their own projects. So they've been feeding back to me about, what businesses they may like to run in the future. And actually there was three of them that have already got Etsy accounts. They're already using to sell some jewellery. There were three young girls that are selling jewellery. And the reason they started that is they were sitting on the sideline. One of their brothers was doing something, I think motorbiking or something, and they had to go with parents. They weren't allowed to be left at home.
Yes.
So they were sitting there bored one day and an idea sparked and off they went.
Isn't that wonderful to see?
Oh, definitely.
And I mean, heads down to them, because I tried to sell on Etsy. I had a creative business. Mm-hmm. It was really, really hard. Yeah. And then I was talking to someone who I found her product. Actually, I think we met in a Facebook group, and then she showed me her Etsy page and said, if you don't have a minimum of 100 products on there, then you don't even come up in searches.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like my thing was unique items. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I basically gave up in the end. Yeah. So yeah, really, that's really good to see that they are going with it, and obviously they must have enough product. With
some of the other learners, it made them think about if they wanted in the future. We're very much education is, you have all your certificates, you go into a corporate job, you work your 9 to 9. It used to be 9 to 5, but 9 to 9 is the norm these days.
But do you teach them that when you become an entrepreneur, you swap the 9 to 5 to 24/7?
You do swap it, but at the same time, you've got everything's for you. In the corporate world, you're working for someone else.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're working for yourself, you're working for you, and you can direct it in whichever way you want to. So you can direct it to, am I doing this? Am I enjoying this? Yes, I am. Can I change things? Yes, I can. Whereas if you're in a corporate world, you have to do things your boss tells you to, even if you agree or don't agree. You've got to do those things.
And if you come up with good ideas to change the business, then it benefits somebody else, not you.
Definitely,
that's true.
Definitely. So with the young learners, that's in a school, and they're doing that to meet their Gatsby framework. And it means that they meet the criteria for having work experience. At the end of it, I'll be going back in and they do a presentation and they get awards for it. So I'm excited. I'm back there soon and seeing their end result. So in between, I've been working with them, delivering some sessions on Teams and going into the classroom with a classroom assistant and just,
that must be incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. With my background in education, I've always gone back into education and always gone back to sort of supporting, because people are, they've got the ideas and some of them come up with some ideas that I hadn't even thought of. So it gives me some knowledge.
Learning. Yes. Teaching is very much a two-way learning,
definitely. Isn't it? I mean, social media for me is, the old traditions of, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn is a main one that I use, but they're looking at TikTok and they're looking at X and things like that. I stay away from those. They're not something that I would want to go into, but that's where they are.
I mean, I was really shocked. I did a digital skills training early last year, so nearly a year and a half ago now. And I learned that even then it had already been some considerable amount of time that TikTok had actually overtaken Google for searches and buying stuff. It's like, really? What kind of a cave am I living in? Not even realizing that TikTok was such a big thing.
It's not something that I will openly, honestly say, it's not something that I understand. My business
this is
doesn't
where
really,
I feel old.
Yeah, that's right. And they're talking to me about, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And it, you know, on my telephone, it comes up, you know, a notification from TikTok, and I just swipe past. I'm like,
why don't you just turn it off?
Yeah.
The notification that is.
I think it's connected to my Facebook, and I need to sort of go into my phone and just swipe it. And it says I've got this many followers on there, and I'm like, I don't know how. I really don't know how.
When you're not even on there.
No.
Oh, well.
So, you know,
life's mysteries.
Yeah, my business side is sort of not at a TikTok level, even though I know that people get some great services from it and some great marketing. But
what's interesting about that is, though, I mean, you say that your clientele varies greatly in terms of age.
Yeah.
But if you want to appeal to the younger clientele, then potentially you can find one of them who can help you with managing that for you, so that the younger people who are on TikTok can then find you.
This is where, when I was talking about, you know, what we like and what we enjoy in business. So when you're looking at business, you look at all the things you need to do. So the benefits of having a manager or a boss is that you know that at the end of the day, you need to have done a good job. You've got to, you've got to do that. When you're an independent business owner, you make the decision as to what you do and what you don't do. But you've also got the autonomy to buy in someone to do the things that you don't like to do.
Yeah.
So I have a VA. So if I want, to put promotions out on, social media and everything else, I will give them a call and say, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I want to do. They can do that in 4 hours. I could do that in 4 days and sometimes longer, because
and still not really
achieve what it is that I need. So the benefit of having your own business is that you don't have to employ someone all of the time. You can buy in a service. Yes. And that's what I do. TikTok isn't really where my audience is right now, but that's not to say in the future that I need to look at that. But LinkedIn is really where I pick up most of my clients because of the corporate side. And then from my education background, I pick up people from the education, because they'll see me on LinkedIn and think, okay, so she's been 24 years in education, and this is a service that she offers.
That is
that's where it comes
huge element of trust. That you've got the right experience. So obviously we've already touched upon that you've got a varied age group of clientele, but also what I'm picking up is that you've got sort of varied things that you teach to people, to all these different client groups. Now, there's a lot of advice out there that the more you niche your service, the easier you find clients. So how do you find that?
I have struggled. I'll be very honest. I struggle to niche, and I haven't got one specific type of client that I say that I work with. So I'm a business improvement strategist.
Okay.
So I look at businesses and see, where those gaps are. So I use my, my qualification in business strategy to look at that business. So for me, it's having a conversation with the person first, or with, a business first, and then seeing where those gaps are. So doing an analysis.
Yeah.
I would love to niche, but I see opportunities everywhere. So I find it difficult.
Okay, let's unpick this a little bit. So you say you struggle with it. Is it your struggle to find which bit you are most attracted to? Or is it because people find you and then you're quite happy to say yes to it?
I'm happy to say yes. If something that I feel I can do, I have dealt with people that they've spoken to me and I've said, I'm not the right person for you, but I have the right person, and I'm going to recommend you to this person or that person. I won't work with somebody that I don't feel that there's the rapport, and I don't feel that the client's going to get the benefit from it, because I feel that if I do that, they're going to remember. They're going to remember that, what I do, and they can come back to me when they need it or if they need it. But we do see out in industry, unfortunately, people will say, I can do that. And I have picked up some clients that have had that experience. They've had the wrong type of person, and they have a mistrust slightly with having another mentor or another coach. So you have to work harder to show them that you're the right one.
When somebody's starting out, they're happy to take on any client because they want the income, they want the feedback, they want the testimonials, all the rest of it. And then you need to get to a certain stage in your business, however quick or late it comes, where you can actually afford to start to cherry pick, even though probably you should cherry pick from the very beginning. But at that point, it's kind of like, there's all this time has gone with setting up. I now need to make money. So there's different kind of pressure.
I agree, actually. But if you look at it from a different angle, it's almost like being employed. So if you were to work for somebody, you go through all the interviews and you think, this is my job. This is it. I'm going to really do well here. And you start. And then you think, actually, this is not quite right. This isn't what I was sold. This isn't where I thought I was. So you stop. And if you look at that with clients coming to you, if I feel my integrity will always tell me whether I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So if I look at it and I think this is not the right client for me, we're not going to gel, we're not going to work together, it becomes a burden. It becomes a difficult activity for me to do, and I don't get enjoyment from it.
Okay.
So I would rather say, I'm not the right person. They're not. You don't get the feeling that they're going to be the person that you want to work with. And being that you're your own boss, you can make that decision.
Yeah, I tell you what, as you're talking, it really reminds me of it's literally like dating, isn't it?
Yes. Oh.
You need to find the right relationship with your clients as much as a life partner or a business partner. There comes a point where honesty just needs to be the priority, doesn't it? That if it doesn't work, you need to call it a day. If it's not working, how do you then pull the plug on it?
Yeah. I think it's directing them to the area or the person, doing your own research. So if you found that after, several weeks, it wasn't working, before you, go back to them is using what you've already gained in information, is finding someone that might be more suitable. And having a network, I've got quite a big network. I know that there's other people that can specialize in certain aspects of business that's where they get their sense of, enjoyment from their business. And there's certain parts of mine that I get most enjoyment from, but then there are other parts that I can do and I can deliver. I'm always looking at what's beneficial for the person that's coming. What's the service plan for that person? And possibly because having a business later in life, it's shown me that making money isn't about everything. It is, we need money. We run a business to make a profit. There's no doubt about that. We're not doing all of it. We do a lot of work for ourselves and a lot of it is unpaid. But when the money does come in, it's rewarding. But I like to see that on the flip side of that is that the person that has taken the work from me, taken that training or taken the mentoring, coaching or a course that they bought from me is going to recommend me to somebody else.
Yes.
Because that you can't buy. That there's no price on that. I would rather somebody tell everyone how wonderful I am, even if I oversell, even if I give them more, give them value, than somebody say they didn't get something from me.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. So the money financially at the beginning, you might think, well, I'm going to lose X amount of money, but actually you're going to lose more in the long run if that client doesn't get there.
That one bad feedback out in the public eye really poisons people's mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Some, people say that, don't worry about it. Everybody, there's always that 2% of negativity or you don't get on with someone, but still there is such a thorn that sort of stays in you.
It hurts you. I mean, people listen to the negative before they listen to the positive about themselves, about everything.
Yeah.
If you think about it, and I am one of these people who will I will write to people and say, I had really good service today, thank you.
Yes.
My experience was great here, thank you.
The thing is, when you are in the service industry in any way, like I used to be in customer services, I used to deal with FOMO complaints, and there was a long period of my time when I was a master complainer.
Yeah.
And then in recent years, I thought, no, I'm going to swap that and be a complimenter. And I make every effort, every step of the way, wherever I go, to go up to people, or
Yeah.
as you say, drop them a message,
Yeah.
it is so much more rewarding
Yeah.
for me as well when they come back with a smiley
Yeah.
face and
That's
they
right.
didn't expect it.
Yeah, we are in a culture where, you know, people complain very quickly and frequently, that it becomes a noise. It's just the expectation is that somebody's going to complain, you know, whereas if you offer praise, one, it makes you feel good. The person receiving it feels so much better about themselves, and then they then pass that on. So it's like a domino effect. You know,
absolutely.
You know, they're feeling great. So, you know, and it's just that you can see people sort of, they're, you know, bouncing their step. You know, they enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So in business, we're going to get people that aren't always going to like all of the things that you do.
Absolutely.
And
it's
it's
2%.
how we constructively deal with that. You know, my offer when I work with anybody is, you know, contact me. If you're struggling, contact me, because I would rather help you and unpick it than you struggle for a long time, because having the experience I have, it's probably something that I would be able to resolve quickly.
Yes.
And if I can't resolve it there and then, I'll say, leave it with me, I'll come back to you, because sometimes we do get asked some weird and wonderful things. You know, I can't say I can answer everything immediately, but I can definitely go away and find out a little bit more about it. Yeah.
By simply offering the service, you would kind of know where to find the answer quicker, as you say. Yeah.
But if you look at it from when you're in that, you know, promotion of yourself, when you're in that sales mode, you've got that, ask me anything, I'll answer, ask me anything. So what I see businesses do is they stop that immediately. The clients come on board. Whereas I think that's the most important time, because now they've actually purchased something. That's when they're going to ask more, because they need to understand your training, your support, you know, and it's giving them over and above, so that they feel that, you know, we're adding value to what they do. And I also offer, you know, a touch base afterwards, you know, so if they've had that training, I like feedback, but I also like to touch base after. It depends on what type of training it is. But for example, with the company where I gave you the example of the construction workers, I've got a call in booked for a month later.
Yes.
So I'll call them back in a month. How are you doing? What are you doing?
All like the 30 people?
Yeah. No, to their manager, to the company. Right. But then there's two pronged to that, because one is that I want to check that, you know, have they used the resources that I've given them? Because I provide resources. Are they using it? Have they had feedback? But also, what else can I help you with?
Yeah.
So it's that, you know, touch base to see, you know, because there are so many offers that we can put out there. They may not understand that that is one aspect of the mindset training that I can do in that field, but there might be something else that they may need in their business that I can help with as well. And it's building those relationships.
Yes.
So
but there's this element of accountability, isn't it, with that sort of month follow-up call?
Yeah.
Both, because to the managers as well, because otherwise what's the point of them investing in you coming in to train their people if they then don't check that all the resources have been utilized and the learning has been put into place?
Absolutely. So, you know, I like to see the end result too. So,
yes,
you know,
of course. Otherwise you would feel that your work was wasted.
Yeah. I mean, we put a lot of work and a lot of effort into creating courses and writing courses and then delivering them. Delivering them is for me, the easy part. I like going out and delivering training. You know, I'm quite used to sort of sitting in big audiences and delivering, but you don't get that immediate feedback. You might get that immediate, you know, rapport, you know, discussion.
The enthusiasm,
But it's the work afterwards that they need to put in about, you know, have they done the work that I've set them to do, and then finding out, have they done it? So I think that's the teacher in me. That's giving out the homework, and that's then, you know, bringing the homework back in so I can mark it. I don't mark it, but I like to know that they've done something and it's moved them forward in the area that they've had the training in. Otherwise, you know,
it is interesting, because you can receive some training and then a certain, probably fairly small percentage kind of sticks straight away. And then you have every intention to do what you were taught. And then it's so easy to get back into your old routine and just stick the training notes up on the shelf.
Yeah.
But how do you then, force may not be the right word, but kind of encourage people to keep going back to the training notes to make sure that they implement more and more if not eventually all of what they learned.
Yeah. Sometimes with the same cohort of people. So they may go on to the next step of a program that I'm running. But it might be that where I've dealt with the managers and the senior managers, they may need some training in another aspect of their business. So that might be my first introduction. So again, when we go back to niching, can I niche? No, because I can go into one business and I can look at different areas that they might need support with. They might need a lot of support in one area or a smaller amount in another, and I can adapt what I do to make it bespoke for that company. So I find it very hard to niche.
Because you've got two very distinct aspects of it. It's niching your clientele, or niching the offers, like what you teach.
Yeah.
But do you have a preference between individual starting out entrepreneurs and corporate clients?
That's a difficult question. That's a difficult one. I like to see the new starts because they're almost like, they're nervous. And when I mentor and coach them, they take a lot of time, and I'm happy to give time, because if I give them some work to do and they're doing it, I'm happy. I'm really, I can see that they're doing it. It's when I have those entrepreneurs, startups that think that everything's going to come overnight. They've watched, whoever might be on the TikTok, let's say, or on, social media, and they may look at them and go, oh, no, they've got, they're doing this, they're doing that.
And then you just read those headlines. Oh, I made 2 million in 3.5 months.
Yeah.
It's like, of course you didn't.
Yeah. They don't appreciate the work that goes into it. So it's about dealing with those type of things that takes the time to get them to understand that the hard work has to be put in, and that you might see people's lifestyles out on social media. However, that's what they're projecting. That's not what they're doing. So, which we know. So if I've got someone that real sort of embryo stage, and they want to put the work in, I enjoy it. But I will say that some of those clients that I do work with don't make it all the way through because they don't see that.
Gosh, I was doing my first ever newsletter mail out back in February, prior to the launch of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can get this done in about half a day.
Yeah.
4 days and 2 emotional breakdowns later, my first mail out was done. Yeah. I was bawling my eyes out. I was just so upset. Just the overwhelm was really quite substantial. So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And if people are not prepared in some kind of way.
If they're willing to do the work, then I'm, standing and walking beside them. And I will, it doesn't matter what time they call me, up to 9 o'clock. I don't mind up to 9 o'clock, but they can WhatsApp me. And if I'm free, I'll WhatsApp them back. And if I can take a call, I'll take a call, because I can solve that question quickly and I don't want them sleeping on it. I like going into corporates because of my education background, being a vice principal previously. I'm used to going in and talking to lots of people in lots of different, situations and delivering training. And I know one of my colleagues I often work with, she hates being on stage. She hates being, out there. And I'm, come on, we're going, come on. And sometimes I'll just push her forward and say, go. And then once she's started, she's fine. But she's got those nerves and I haven't. And I think that's because she hasn't done what I've done, walked those boards for quite a long time.
I truly believe that I'm missing that gene. It must be something, because I can't even start to understand how people go into a panic attack at the sheer thought of going on a stage. For me, I give me a microphone, I'm flying. Put me on a stage in front of 5,000 people, I'm happy.
That's it. Yeah. I prefer it when there's, when they're bigger, because you just engaging with a few that are in the audience. Yeah. Whereas when it's a one-to-one, as much as I enjoy it, it can be intense.
It is much more intense.
It can be intense, yeah. And sometimes people bring a mood with them, and you have to try and shake that off afterwards, because if they've got a negative vibe about them, even if it's for the day, you have to try and, get them going, pick them up,
You don't just want to help them with their business, you want to help them get into a good mood. And
that's right.
They kind of just dug themselves into the situation. So, but I'm picking up, and I might be right, might be wrong, that each set of clientele have got their own pros and cons.
Definitely.
And it feels
Yeah.
like you are kind of using one against the other to have a little rest from.
Yes.
Kind of the
Yeah.
two things balance each other out.
Yeah.
The solo clients and the
Yeah.
corporate clients.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Definitely.
Cool.
Definitely. I like to work with both. So 3 days a week, I'm working in a company at the moment, and I'm coaching and mentoring the managers and senior managers.
Okay.
So I'm looking at working with them on a one-to-one. So a lot of the things I do are pastoral, is that it's not always about business, it's about mindset. So I do tend to sit there and listen to quite a lot of things that I don't tell anyone, it's confidential, don't do this. And that's fine, because everything stops here. But it means that I can understand the whole working of the company.
At the end of the day, it's always down to what goes on in someone's personal life, isn't it?
Yeah. So, once I've listened to them, what it is they've done this week, and then I'll be right, okay, let's look at what you were tasked to do last week. How's that working? And this is the strategic plan of one company that has got a negative staff flow, and they've had a lot of turnover of staff. So they want to understand a little bit more about why that's happening. Yeah. So, that's why I'm mentoring and coaching and onboarding some new staff. So it's about building that relationship. So that, again, is a little bit corporate, but it's a little bit one-to-one. So it's sort of within one company. I'm doing both. So that's enjoyable. I'm doing that. That's a contract I've got at the moment for 3 months, 3 days a week. It's a big company.
Wow, that's sounds substantial.
Yeah. So I probably see about 4 per day.
So in a corporate world, what kind of strangest kind of stories or blockages have you come across that people have had that would stop them from being their best self at work?
I believe that it's generally that whenever you introduce yourself as a mentor or a coach, that immediately they feel they're in trouble. Immediately it's, what have I done wrong? Why do I need a mentor or coach? Am I not doing my job well? But when you discuss it with them and say that this is supportive, this is about you being the best you can be whilst you're at work, but also leaving your work when you go home, so that you can, have that energy when you're here and still have energy when you leave to enjoy your own part of your day, then they relax. But the initial meetings are always quite, they're resilient to talk, and they're resilient to, who are you? Why are you here? Why have I got to see you? It's that reluctance. And then when it comes to the end of the contract and you're leaving, it's like, oh, well, but haven't we got these anymore? What am I going to do? Who am I going to
carry on?
Yeah. So there's that side that people always, and again, going back to the negativity piece, they always think they've done something wrong. And actually, some of those people in there, I'm talking to them because they're excellent at what they do. They're brilliant, but they haven't been able to share it because other people are reluctant to learning from someone else. Going back to coaching, they need to not ask. So, I better do it on my own. No, ask somebody for help. You may,
And I suppose you then need to help to establish this culture in the workplace.
Yeah.
From, I don't know, top down or bottom up, either way, that people are peers and they should communicate.
The most difficult in corporate world is when it's the owner, CEO, that is the negative person.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
That's the difficult conversation, because once I've done my research, once I've supported and I'm feeding back, it could be the way that they are interacting with their staff. Are they the best person to get the best out of their staff, or do they need someone in between that's the person that has got the morale to boost them, and that they sit aside from that and they're not dealing with the day-to-day basis? Because
their headspace is very different, isn't it? Especially when, as you say, if it's an owner of a business employing loads of people, and then there's a pressure of absolutely everything on them. So that's interesting.
And their mood can be, they may have had some they may have just lost a contract and they're upset, they're angry, and the first people they take it out on are the people they see and the people that work for them. And that's the thing. It's like they'll be in that bad mood, and that mood comes down within the company. And when they're on a high, it's great, but the highs aren't as often as the day-to-day grind. And the day-to-day grind is going in every day. And when I look at companies and I see that you've got that morale when people come in, they're smiling, they're happy, they're, working as a good team, it's more productive.
Absolutely.
Far more productive,
And do you find that when you find a team like that, there's a lot more communication going on?
Yeah.
Between staff and management?
I've been into companies that actually didn't need me. I've been into companies that, they want to, and that's a nice thing, because the company CEO has said, can you just come in and, just meet my team and do an assessment, see how everyone is. And that company I go back into, that's one of the, mentoring and coaching that I've done, is I've gone back in and touch base every 6 months, just pop in, do a day and just check in. How's everyone doing? Everyone's fine. And tell the CEO. And that gives him the confidence that he's working okay. So that's a nice side of it, but I've said...
It sounds a little bit weird in a way that you go, but you don't really have to do much work.
No.
But it's kind of satisfying for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I go in and just check in, but I'm reporting back to him that everyone's okay, you're still doing great. And that contract initially, it came about because someone had recommended me from, from another business. And he thought, well, okay, yeah, I'll see what's going on. I don't know what's going on in my business, so I'm going to find out. And he put me on a contract for, a longer period. And I said, you don't need me this long. I can report back to you now. This is where you are. So that then I can go back in and do one day, just a one day, and go in and see them all. And it's really enjoyable, actually, because I'm sort of like, hey, how are you? Are you okay? What's going on? So I actually know that I'm going in to have a good day. I'm not going to go in and have like a negative day.
Good.
Yeah.
Feel good day.
Yeah. So that's, that's part of it. But I think you're right. The working with the independent entrepreneurs and then working in the corporate field is something which I like to counterbalance against each other.
With the corporate world, you said a lot of it is through recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find your solo clients?
Solo clients have been through LinkedIn or through Facebook. So I haven't done any advertising on Facebook, but I am in several groups, and I'll be on there talking about, what I'm doing, what's going on. And occasionally they'll let us put out some, in some of the groups, some of the resources that we might have. Okay. So I've got some free resources that I'll put out so people can come on. They come onto my mailing list, and then I've got them on the mailing list, and I'm constantly, checking in. Hi, how are you? This is what's going on in the world this week. Some hints and tips, but also just particularly with the independent entrepreneurs, they don't yet understand about networking, and they're sort of still in isolation. So,
oh my goodness,
letting them.
Earlier, I was actually going to ask you about networking. So I'm really quite happy that we managed to loop back into it. So how do you network?
So I'm in 2 groups at the moment, and I'm also in a Chamber of Commerce. So a Chamber of Commerce in my local area, and we have 4 meetings a week. We have, my apologies. No, we don't. We have 4 meetings a month. Which are optional. 2 breakfast and 2 evening meetings.
Okay, so they vary.
They vary, yeah. So people can go to them. So
what about your groups? Are they peer groups or mixed groups?
They're mixed groups. I do have a group, my own group, which I'm going to be leading into opening soon at some point in the future, a membership. But at the moment, I've got a group, and I'll go in there and update on anything that's going on. And if I've just created a new free resource, then I'll pop that in there. Here's that. I haven't done, as you've said, is newsletters. I've not had the time.
It sounds like, because you said people sign up.
They sign up through, if they've come onto my mailing list, so if they've downloaded something, then I'll send them out a weekly email. But it's
kind of a newsletter, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it is, but it's more sort of chatty. This is what's going on in my business world this week. Yeah, maybe because it's an email. I'm thinking back to memorandum days. Do you remember those days? A memo that went round the office and you had to sign it. Do you not remember that?
I don't know about signing, maybe.
I really am showing I'm 60 now. In my networks, if Women in Business one, and I'm in that group, and there's a lot of people in there that might be telling us what they're doing, what's going on, and that's online networking. For me, I prefer face-to-face. I prefer...
Yes, I'm very much on the same page with you on that one. I have taken part in a number of online networking events, and some of them were good, some of them were a bit tedious, or some of them I left like, I have absolutely no idea what I took away from here. But face-to-face networking events, I always thoroughly enjoyed, to the point when I started up my own. First time I came across the advice of networking was when I signed up to property training. The mentor there said, go to, how did he put it? So he kind of recommended 3 regular networking events to go to. I think one where it's peer mentor, so peer network, where everybody's doing this, like that was a property training, so everybody's in property.
Yeah.
And then go to 2 others where you are the only property person.
Yeah.
So if you apply this, how do you find yourself? Do you do any networking with other coaches and mentors? Or all of your networking groups are mixed?
We are in, I am in one group, which is mentors and coaching. Yeah. So I'm in one group, and it's a Facebook group. It's a closed private group, and again, it gives you ideas about what other people are doing. It gives you ideas of how other people work and how it shows like a personality. A coach is a personality. So you're going to either link with one or not. And some of the things that some of the coaches will put out, is what they do. And I'd never do that. I'd never do that. But then someone else
might.
What
do you mean?
Well, the way that they coach would be in a very directive way. I give them tasks to do, and they must do this and they must do this. So their coaching method is almost dictatorial in that they give them activities to do, whereas mine's more fluid in that we have a conversation similar to this, and I find out about them, and then we'll agree to what the next steps are.
Do these people, or whatever the particular one perhaps, do they then say how successful?
No, we've not really talked about anyone's successes. It's more as a group of people that are giving their view on, and you might have a sort of a 2-3 minute pitch on what you've done and how you coach, and that's where I picked that one up from. And I was, gosh, I'll never do that.
Well, I tell you what, that still taught you a bit of a lesson.
Oh yeah,
to highlight that that's what I'm not gonna do.
Yeah,
I'm going to carry on my way. Because we do need, because that's a kind of mentoring as well. We do need the polar opposites as well, don't we? To highlight what we don't want to do.
Yeah. And people pick people. And that's the thing is, again, it's get back to personality. You need to be able to identify who your people are, and who you're going to be happy working with, and who you feel that's going to be happy working with you. And again, going back to looping right back to almost the beginning, is that I'll direct someone somewhere else if it's not that relationship. So that network is coaches, and we will generally just talk and support each other, because it's almost like sometimes as a coach, I've got a network of people that I've worked with for many years, and they're friends outside of my work, and they've stayed friends outside of my work. I'm going back 20 odd years. They are my people. So I won't talk to them about a specific client, but I might say, oh, I had a day today, or this. They might talk to me about their work, but you've got to have that outlet so that you don't absorb and take everyone's issues on board. And as we spoke about, someone having negative energy. Sometimes, how do you shake that off if you've got another client coming in half an hour? You've got a quick something to eat, have a drink, and then you're back to being a professional. But sometimes you carry it with you, and you just got to get it out.
What do you do? Do you have any techniques or any routines for dealing with this sort of stuff?
Breathing techniques, sort of like, just sitting down. I don't meditate, and
this is kind of what I teach, is that there's so many different ways to looking after your mental health and spiritual health, and you don't have to meditate, but breathing techniques are a wonderful way of reconnecting with yourself.
So mine is, if I can, as bare feet on the ground, out in the, if it's a nice day, out in the garden. If it's, not so nice, then it's not in the garden. Bare feet, breathing exercises, just breathing it out. I suppose it is a form of, meditation.
It is, absolutely.
In that it's a form
Call
of,
it whatever you want, really. It is a form of meditation, though.
I think people might be scared of that word meditation, because they just visualize people chanting and sitting, talking to, the wall or whatever it might be. Whereas, I do a lot of breathing techniques, shaking it out, trying to get that negative energy. Something that goes back to a holistic world that I was in previously, and still in, I suppose, is washing my arms, all my hands all the way up to my arms and just shaking it out, sort of getting rid of the energy and shaking that out. So I do that when it's been a bad one, but generally breathing. Generally,
I like that.
generally
I like
breathing.
that because it's not just the physical cleansing, but that physical touch that you give to yourself is a very caring kind of action.
Yeah.
And especially when I think it's something somebody told me when I was dating some years back. I don't know, second, third, fourth date, whatever, with someone that I really quite liked. And my friend asked, where did he touch your arm? And I said, I said something and he touched my arm. Where did he touch your arm? And I had to think hard because apparently different places, like if somebody touches your lower arm, that's a very friendly gesture. But if somebody touches your upper arm, that's a lot more intimate.
Okay.
And so when you're washing yourself, that's like literally into a cuddle territory, isn't it? So you effectively massaging your arms further up.
Yeah.
And you're giving yourself that feel-good factor, going back to baby kind of time.
Yeah.
And
you do, don't you? You
just
sit like this. Yeah.
you
Yeah. It's like this, you know.
as well.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look that up when I go home.
Like touching arms and
I'm going to look at that. I know there's certain things that you look at if someone's in a bar and they pick their drink and drink at the same time, then they're connected. You know, they're in sync with each other. But I've not heard the one about touching the arms. I'm going to look at that. And I think that for me also, and it's part of one of the things that I do, which is journaling. So if I'm having that experience, is writing it down and, just getting it out. So if I write it down, it's left me. I can go back to it if I want to. So if that's a negative experience, I'm not writing all of the things down, but I can just write, what happened that day and why that person was feeling like that. And therefore, then I've given it back. It's not mine anymore. I don't own it. It's theirs. Not giving it to them, but I've just taken it out.
Well,
of me.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But do you try and do it immediately after the session?
Yeah.
If possible, if time
possible,
allows,
yeah.
or at least at the end of the day.
If possible, always. But at the end of the day, I've always got to write my notes up because I've got to. I do allow myself some time in between clients, but then sometimes one may run over, one may be late. We're not able to time everything as we would like to, but if I can do it immediately, then it's gone until I look back at it. If not, it's at the end of the day. But I do journal at the end of the day.
In my eyes, journaling is definitely a form of mental health management.
I think it's part of business as well, because in business, if you journal, you can take on board what it is that you've done and what's worked well. And then that is something that you can investigate more. So if you needed to do something else, in that you're doing something well, you can, park that one. I'm doing well with that. But this area I need to look at in more detail. And we're so busy, whether it's with our businesses, whether it's with our life. Life is quick and we are busy. If I don't journal, I'll do it later. It's a missed opportunity. No. And by journaling, it means that I've absorbed what I've done that day in my business. It means then I feel good about having got to the end of the day as my own boss and that I have done what I would expect someone who worked for me to do. I'm ending my day being positive. And my journaling links into my time blocking and my lists. I'm an old-fashioned girl. I like a list. I like crossing things off.
I do too. I like that piece of paper. I like to have that feeling of achievement.
Absolutely. So I may have a list which is a week. Generally mine are a week, but I'll break those down into days and I can do this. Now, I'm not going to say I achieve everything every day. I'm not going to say I achieve everything every week. But as long as everything on that list has moved forward in some way, then I know I've moved forward and I've achieved. Because as I went, in business, we think things will take hours. You've said, I've said, it can take days. Yeah. But as long as I've started it and as long as I've moved forward and I've gained something, then I've moved forward. I'm happy. Yeah. That's for me so journaling is a very big part of what I do.
That's something that I don't even know how to word it. I kind of feel like I'm failing it, but I don't want to feel like a failure just because I'm not doing it. Because the vast majority of my daily routine of self-care is in the morning. Still to this very day, strange to me, because I used to sleep in the morning and then stay up in the night.
Right.
And I really wasn't a morning person. I now willingly set my alarm for 5:30 to get up and look after myself first before I get on with my day. I literally refill my cup, re-energize myself and get going. And at the end of the day, I'm just really quite happy to spend that time with my husband.
Yeah.
And then go to bed reasonably early because I get up early. I don't have that sort of time to do journaling. I'd love to.
Right.
Because I can see, like what you've just talked about, that you sort of close off your day.
Yeah.
I do in a small way, I suppose, is at the end of the day, I try and put in my diary what I did do on that day. So I have that sense of achievement. But I would like to do more journaling, more sort of self-analysis, a little bit more in-depth for my sort of mental health and spiritual health.
Have you tried voice notes? Leaving yourself voice notes?
Would I ever listen to them, though? I don't think I would.
I listen to mine in the car. If I haven't got time to journal, I'll leave myself a voice note.
Okay.
I'll leave myself a message sometimes. I haven't got time, so I'll call myself. If I'm in the car and I can't message, I'll call myself and leave a voice message on my own phone. Sounds strange.
You are not the first person who said this.
It sounds strange, but if it's in my mind, I can't stop if I'm driving. I'm like, okay.
Yes, of course.
And then later on, I'll listen back to it. So, but you could, you could build that into your morning.
That kind of starts with having the phone in the cradle in the car, but I tend to leave it in my bag.
Right.
But that's a good one, because occasionally I do go to networking events that are out of town.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is listen to good podcasts.
So do I. Yeah.
On the way there and back. So there's, like, I live in Plymouth. There's a good one in Cornwall, and it takes about 50 minutes to get there. But sometimes I just have the radio on and I'm thinking, and then it's like, I don't have anywhere to write this down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever thought about then calling myself.
Yeah.
I need to have myself on speed dial then.
You could do this at the end of the day and then listen to it the following morning. So then part of your care routine in the morning could be, what did I do yesterday? And how did I achieve those things that I'd set myself out to do? And then if you listen to them and you've achieved.
I have an app where I log all the things, like it's a habit. How do I describe it? Like, kind of the name is like to achieve your ultimate self with it. So you set habits in this app. It starts with a few basic ones and then you add your own. And I built up quite a list. So literally, like, down to the last little things, like having a cup of green tea in the morning, all sorts of things you sort of build in for yourself. And there's an evening journaling task in there. And I don't think I've taken it.
Yeah. It gets quicker. It gets quicker because at the beginning you feel that you've got to write everything down because you're unsure of, oh, I've got to write that, I've got to write, they said, I said, da-da-da. But then eventually, and quite quickly actually, you get to a point where you're bullet pointing. You're just bullet pointing, and it can take 10 minutes.
Do you literally just sort of sum up your day or write down emotional things or?
For each, if I'm doing coaching, mentoring, I will write my notes up afterwards.
For that session. But that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I suppose that's something I would do anyway, yeah.
But then part of that is I'll write down how I felt, how that worked with me. So I'll have, their notes are there, which go onto their file. But it will give me how I felt about that. Did it go well for me? Did I have to dig deep to work with this person? Was it enjoyable? Was it, difficult? Because we work very quickly and those emotions, they spin quite a lot because you're on that reactive, you're reacting all the time. So where I can, if I've got 4 sessions in one day, then I need to write my notes then, because by the end of the day,
oh, you would forget.
I've forgotten.
Absolutely.
So
no
even
idea.
if I'm just jotting two sentences down, but I'm tending to write the same thing, the same question. So I'm just literally A and B, 1 or 2. I'm answering that question. How do I feel? How did they make me feel? Was there enjoyment? Wasn't there enjoyment? Why? And it might be that, each week it's the same for that person. And then therefore I can also see, only reflective of their notes, is what was the change? what changed?
Is there any progress?
Yeah, what changed for them, what changed for me? Because again, if you're seeing someone and it becomes that they're seeing you out of habit, then you need to break free, because then it becomes like a relationship, and it becomes stale. Yes. It becomes stale because they're not getting anything from it, and neither are you. So you need to, consider that, because we give so much that we need to then reflect on what we also take from it, because we need to be happy ourselves. So you must try journaling.
Yes, I must try. Somehow need to build it in. But yeah, because at the moment, obviously setting up the podcast, getting it going, and then doing my speaker training, launching my own mentoring business with it, all of it. Like I'm literally in that boat of the people you are coaching. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's just this week. It's like, I really need to ditch my to-do list and
but
concentrate on a couple of
Wouldn't it be good
things.
Looking back? Because journaling shows you your journey.
In a way, I kind of do. Yeah, as I say, I do have a diary, which is kind of a bit of a reflective one, because at the end of the day, I write in the diary what I did that day. Or sometimes I try at lunchtime as well, because by the evening, I can't remember what I did in the morning.
Yeah.
It helps with a lot of things. For example, doing my mileage.
Yeah.
For that, it's very important to write down what networking events or other places I went to. And every week we do sit down with my husband on a Saturday morning and do a little review of the week,
right,
and discuss what we're going to do in the following week.
Yeah.
Because he's an entrepreneur as well. He's building his own business that he started up last year. So we're kind of, in that sense, in the same boat. So we've got this little accountability going on a Saturday morning, review the previous week. So
that's
in a
good.
way, I sometimes get around to writing it down, but monthly we do. So we have, on the first of the month or nearby, we have a little meeting where we go through our calendar, what we've done, and literally write down almost like a page long, like down to the last little thing, including socializing, any networking events, what we achieved at work, did we travel somewhere, absolutely anything and everything. And I kind of put little stars next to things that are the most outstanding, and little smiley faces that made us happy. And then we do a summary word. How was this month?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the same for both of us, and sometimes it's different for the different companies that we have. And then go through the previous one, tick off everything that got done, bring forward what didn't get done, and then set new targets for the coming month.
Yeah.
So in
sounds
some
great.
way, that is
it
kind of journaling.
I mean, you're very fortunate that you and your husband work in that way. It seems very, orderly. You've got your Saturday morning, you've got your plan. It's like your managers meeting every week. You're holding yourselves accountable. You're obviously enjoying it, because I could see as you were talking, it's something you enjoy.
Yeah, we spend time together.
Yeah.
We celebrate what we achieved.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very much a positive,
Yeah.
and helps us move forward and support each other, because occasionally it does feel like, oh, I haven't achieved much this week, or I struggled with blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then we, of course, really, really encourage and support each other.
And being an entrepreneur himself, he understands, the areas of sometimes frustration, sometimes joy, more joy, let's hope. But, all of those things. Whereas when you've got people that aren't in business, they don't understand, they don't, sometimes I get people say, what do you actually do? And I'm like, I actually do all of this. And they go, oh, God, I didn't realize you'd done that. Yeah. And that's the thing. But when you're talking to your husband, who's an entrepreneur, he understands. So therefore you're getting that feedback. It's almost like you're being mentor and coaching each other, which is fantastic.
It is its own form of peer mentoring. Indeed.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people who haven't, they might be one person in business that the other side of the family, their friends, they don't understand what they're doing, as some of my friends and some of my family. Well, what are you doing? I'm doing this. Oh, okay.
I'm a lady of leisure.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them think I am, oh, you're always on Facebook. You're always doing this. Yeah. But I'm, might be going, into London to do some training for someone. Yeah. Oh, okay. And it does make...
it's funny because I go to a lot of networking events, and then of course if I post about it, some people see it as like I'm going partying,
Yeah.
socializing all the
Yeah.
time, which
Yeah.
in a way it's
Yeah.
true,
Yeah.
especially like my own networking event is a social one. So it's not a formal, we don't do speeches, we don't do elevator pitches. You turn up, get a drink at the bar and
Yeah.
have good old fashioned conversations, either
They're
standing
the
up or
best.
sitting down, but people mingle.
Yeah.
It's literally every month like we're going to a little
Yeah.
cocktail party sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks very social and very enjoyable, and it really is. But it is kind of work because then you meet people, you make connections, you nurture your connections. And being the host of the networking event, when someone new comes in, because we always get a whole lot of new people, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Who do you want to connect with?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Speak to that person.
Yeah.
And then at the end, if I manage to catch them, so did you manage to speak to them? Yes, it was lovely. Thank you for the recommendation. Yes, we've got a date in the diary. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And that's it. And sometimes those more relaxed formats are where the business happens because people are very open. They're not looking sometimes for your service at that time, but that conversation will spark something. Oh, I remember I spoke to,
and it goes in the bank,
and then it's, and that's it. And in that relaxed, no one's selling is sometimes the best way, it's that network. And that's why in-person networking is important,
That's why I said I totally share your sentiment on that. And
I mean, you're at the mercy of technology when you're doing it online. You really are, with Wi-Fi, with the internet, or, and I find that when we're on these community networks that are online, people are distracted very easily. They're looking at another screen, or they're doing something, or, someone comes in, or, they're not, you don't feel that they're with you all the time, I do some training online, and I sort of quite strict about that. And sort of like, we're booking in at this time, we're doing it this, and this is when I'm training into businesses via Teams, and it's going to take this long, only this long. I need your full attention. I need you there, cameras on, pen in hand.
My problem with online networking events is that even if it's a bigger one, you listen to something or someone, and then you get put into breakout rooms, which then obviously reduces the group. But then it's so random. Maybe it's down to my perception of the world kind of thing that, I like to know. And if I speak to 5 or 6 people and then turns out that I've got nothing in common either in business or life with any of them, or what was the point? Then it feels like a waste of time. While if I go into a room and speak to the host and say, okay, this is what I do and I want to connect with XYZ, they can guide me. Or like, even if it's a formal networking event where you stand up and do your 1-minute elevator pitch, at the end of it, when there's half an hour networking, I know, okay, I need to speak to you and you. Not 6 completely random people in the room who I have nothing to talk about with. So
I agree. I think when we're put into those pods, there's generally one person in there who takes over, who wants to push, let's share all our network, let's share all our links in here and the rest of it. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to. I'm not going to. And then you'll have somebody there that's very quiet, that's, but they're the ones I want to reach out to and say, you okay? Are you all right? But you don't know who you're going to get put into those rooms with. And generally the topic, and this happens more times than it doesn't, is that when you get into those rooms, there'll always be 2 people that say, what are we supposed to do? Because they haven't been listening, and that's the thing that always shows me that when it's an online network, no one's really listening fully. They might listen to some parts, but, ears prick when it's something to do that they're interested in. And then you get put in a room and it's like, oh, yeah, I've got to talk about this. Okay. And you can see that the engagement wanes. It's like, how long is it before we go back?
The funniest one was when I said, okay, so to decide who's going to go first, one with the longest hair.
Oh, always you.
That's will always be me.
Unless you tie it back. I don't want it to be me today.
Oh, I let it down.
So yeah. Tie it back. I don't want to talk first today. I want to let someone else lead, and then I can follow. I can take their idea.
What kind of good daily, weekly, yearly routines have you got, either in life or in business?
So a daily photograph from my son and his partner for my gorgeous grandson. I have to have one of those every morning.
Oh, bless you. Oh,
and if I don't, I'm where's my photo?
Never mind. Are you all right?
Yeah. No. Just where's my photo? So that always makes me happy. So that gives me that, that happy step. I was happy before that, but I'm happier now. I got to say,
Aw.
being a nana has been wonderful. It's making sure that my day is set out. And there are occasions when, you know, things go wrong, but having my day set out, planning it the day before is for me is a good mindset, because then I'm ready. I'm ready for the day.
That is something that I'm getting better at,
Yeah.
bit by bit, week on week.
Yeah.
To even if I don't write it down.
Yeah.
Well, now I started planning my week.
Yeah.
But just sort of go through. Okay, so tomorrow I need to do blah blah blah, and then
Yeah.
leave the office.
Mine, time blocking is been a big thing for me in business, and you'll understand this. There's always parts of it that are the need to do, not the, you know, like to do. They're that you have to do them. It's non-negotiable. You have to do them. There are parts of it that we may not enjoy,
Yeah.
but we have to do them. Our books, maybe doing our mileage. Do we really want to write down our mileage and work out what that's going to be?
Money back, of course you
Yeah,
do.
but you know, it's not something that drives me forward. That's exciting,
True.
but it's something that's a necessity because it's part of your business.
Yeah.
So with those tasks, what I do is I break them down into bite-sized pieces, and I will give myself, I don't know, let's say out of a day, if it's one day, an hour for that day. But I'll make sure that I surround it with things that I do enjoy. Okay. So I'll do something I enjoy first, then I'll get on, right, I've got an hour of doing this that I don't really want to do, but I'm going to do it because I have to, and then follow it up with something that I really like to do. So time blocking that I don't get dragged into. I wasn't very good at it at the weekend. I'm just telling myself off in my mind here. So time blocking is great. When I'm left to my own time, and I'm just going to do something for this long. My husband's away at the moment, so I've had a week of having no restrictions on how long I can stay on my computer and create things. So I get carried away. Well, so I'm doing an expo next week, and I wanted to get some roller banners made. So I thought, right, I'm going to go on and I'm going to create those. It took me all day. All day, because I've got 2 roller banners, and they've got the 10 different types of courses, areas that I offer, and I needed to get them all lined up, all color coordinated, so that both banners were right. And I was like, it's just most
have you
people
received them since?
I have, and they're perfect.
Oh, good.
They're absolutely perfect.
Because it could still go wrong in the print.
They're absolutely perfect. They came, and I'd done a video of me opening them, so I was behind it opening them, and I sent it I actually posted it on Facebook. Oh, cool. And my cousin came back because I pulled it up and it dropped. And then I had to pull it up again, and I was chatting away while I was doing it. And he came back, he didn't put it on Facebook, but he said, you were like a female Frank Spencer. So I'm now called Frank, and he's now called Betty.
Oh, gosh.
So I can get carried away if I don't restrict myself. I can always take too long and be too much of a perfectionist, and that's something that I'm a bit of OCD, I think. So time blocking is something that I have to put in my diary.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good one. That's why I introduced a few weeks ago now to do time blocking for the week. So I do it on a Sunday. I did it Sunday evening, and I couldn't sleep, so I thought I need to do it on a Sunday morning. So we covered quite a few bits, because earlier you mentioned about going bare feet. So it's a bit of a physical well-being. Yeah. Journaling is definitely a mental health one. Breathing, spiritual. What do you do about your intellectual health?
I am always keen to know and learn more. So I'm always looking at, if I'm to be the best mentor, coach and trainer, I need to make sure that my knowledge is up to date with what is current. Not TikTok, but other things. I'm not interested in TikTok at the moment. We may come back to this at some point in the future.
Coaching and mentoring.
Yeah. But my coaching and mentoring. So, I will look at what courses. So going back to when I was in education, I took 3 degrees. I've got 3 degrees. I can't sing, but I've got 3 degrees. And I done the first one I needed to do to go into education, but the other 2, it was because I wanted to be the best I could be in that position that I was going to be, strategy working forward that I wanted to be in. And I still do that now in business. So I'm always looking at, what is it that I need to learn? What is it that I would like to understand more of, because it's having the confidence to say that someone else can do that far better than me because that's their expertise. But I still like to learn about it. So intellectually, I am always looking at continuing at 60, continuing to learn, because I don't think that learning stops when you get to any age. You don't walk out of, any learning establishment.
Every day is a learning day.
Absolutely.
Without doubt.
With a certificate, you've got a certificate to do what you did at that point, but everything evolves and everything moves forward. So intellectually, I believe also in finding people that you can aspire to. So who is it that, is the person that you think, they're doing that. That's good. I want to look at more of that. I want to know more about that person and how they got there. Because when we're mentors, coaches and trainers, people are looking to us to inform them.
Yes.
But who informs us if we're only looking
our own mentor? Yes.
Our own mentor. So I have mentors. I have, I haven't got one right now, but I've had mentors that, I might go to and say, I need some support with this. So when I have these people that might say, I can't ask for help. I said, but I do. I have to ask for help. Yeah. When I was in corporate world, I had my line manager. They were my mentor. I would ask them, can I just talk this through with you? And as a business owner, you need someone to talk things through.
Yes.
And, and that's it. Otherwise, you can spiral. You can very easily spiral. So intellectually, it's about having a mentor that, you might want to be scaling your business. So let's find someone who can show me how to scale. Who's done that before me? Who can I see that has, been a pioneer in that area? And they're the people that I'll, put in my network, and I'll be following them. I'll be in their group and I'll be watching them, maybe buying some courses from them, because I still need to learn.
Yes.
I'm not, here going to sit here and say I know everything. I don't. And I never would. There's too much to know. So, if there's something I need to learn, I'll find the best person that I think I can learn it from, and I'll watch that. I'll buy that course.
I mean, this question now makes me giggle. I sort of set out these questions at the beginning or starting of the podcast, but I'm just going to ask it for fun. Are you thinking of retiring anytime soon?
Never. I will never retire. We've got a saying, which is, give Debbie £1 and she'll turn it round. She'll make money out of it.
Okay.
And I have said to my husband, when you bury me, just give me £1. I don't need anything else. Just make sure I've got £1 in my hand, because when I get there, I'm going to have to earn some money. And he will. He will. No, I'm not. I'm never, I'm being in the teacher's pension scheme. I should have been claiming my pension now at 60, because that's when I'm allowed to take it.
Well, you can you not?
I can take it. I keep looking at the forms and I keep looking at it in denial. I'm not retiring.
It's not retiring. Take the money out.
No, I know, but it's still like I've got to acknowledge that I'm taking a pension. I will be. I'm going through the process. I reluctantly keep just putting it on the. I'll do that later. It's
so funny.
That's the thing that's not on my list. I just keep looking at it in my office and looking at it, and I'm not going to do that yet. So no, I don't. And my friends always say to me, like, what are you doing now? What they know what I'm doing, but they're always, admiring my ambition. And I've got friends that have been in the same business, same, job for 25, 26 years. And now in hindsight, they're saying, I should have left there sooner. I should have done more then. I should have done more then. And
the regrets start
looping back to that. I wished I'd never had, always do it, always try it. And some people can do it whilst they're in their corporate job. This is what people don't realise, is that you can start it now, start doing the work now, so that you can then decide one or the other. You don't have to leap and, jump straight out of a job into, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I would advise against that. I would advise to find out a lot more about what it is you're going to do, and is it viable? I mean, some of the ideas that I hear are quite out there, what they can.
Give me one really outrageous one.
All right, so I'm going to give you one from the schoolboys that came up with an idea that they were going to sell jock straps.
Come again?
Jock straps to rugby players.
I'm a foreigner. I don't know what.
Exactly.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, to hold certain parts of their anatomy in place, and they were going to sell those. And I was like, I think that might have been thought of before. Oh no. They were definitely off on a tangent for that. They were the 14, 15-year-olds. They're doing a project on it. They're going to be doing a presentation to me in a couple of weeks, and the final day is the 11th of July. So it'll be in a few weeks' time. They've got to do a presentation. So I'm looking at that one. There was one which was online cat sitting, and it was leaving. This didn't go ahead, but it was leaving like a Zoom bell ring doorbell thing that somebody would be tapping into, check the cats in the house during the day and singing to them when they got.
And the cats would be thinking, leave me alone.
Yeah. And it was just, this lady had this idea that, when she went away, that she wanted to see her cats. And I appreciate that. But it was cats sitting while people are away and going in and checking on them. And I just didn't see it. Didn't see the, connection with where that would go. I'm not sure what happened to her, but it wasn't someone that I could take forward. So,
and would you set up another business still?
I think that with the business that I have, I've got such broad offers. There's so many different areas that I can, we're looking at, I can qualify people to be business strategists. I can teach them and certify them as being a business strategist. Some companies do it to understand more about their business, and some of them will take the full qualification. So I can do anything from that: customer service, mindset, HR, visibility, sales.
I was going to ask that, you can just sort of cut it down if you want to go part-time, but you're just listing more and more things.
They're the things that are within the business. So I wouldn't start another business because there's so much there, but I would maybe in a year, maybe 2 years, is look at a membership and using some of the courses for people that are in a membership, that then we'll have a sort of a monthly, this month we're doing this, month we're doing that. Yeah. So at the moment I'm working with quite a few people on Business 101.
So just developing your business in a slightly different way.
So I wouldn't start a new one. This one is too broad to stop and start again. It would just be something else. And then I would be looking at possibly employing someone to support me more with going out. If I'm going into a big corporate, then I might take someone with me, as I said, a colleague. So I might, bring her on board and say, right, we're going to do this together, and pay her for the day. At the expo, I've got someone that's working with me who understands my business. I am the business, but they understand the business. So I'll bring people in as I need to. But, if anybody's got a query, then it's back to me. So, not start a new one, but just move this one in a different angle.
Wonderful. Debbie, your energy has been electric. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really enjoyed our chat. And I think I've learned quite a few bits and bobs along the way, especially as I'm starting to mentor people. So I picked up a few little snippets for myself. You never know, I might be back to you for a bit of strategy training.
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Thank you for having me, and thank you for identifying some of the things that I'm already doing and not naming them the right way. So my newsletter is now my newsletter, not my email, But it's been very enjoyable. Thank you so much. It's been very open and a great conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to New Business in Later Life with me, Ildiko Seely, where we say no to slowing down and yes to starting up. Loved what you've heard? Please share it or screenshot it and tag me on socials. Let's show the world what thriving in later life really looks like, and share with a friend who is ready for their next chapter. Please subscribe so you are always in the loop. And if you were ready to stop running on empty and start running on purpose, come join us. All the links are waiting in the show notes, including my guests' contacts, the Encorepreneurs Club, and a few tools and services I personally use in my business to help you thrive in yours. Until next time, refuel, refocus, reinvent.